This is the Horse Radio Network. This is episode 297 of the Stable Scoop Radio Show on the Horse Radio Network. Please support our sponsors as they make this show possible. Our sponsors this week are you, our HRN auditors.
Welcome to the Stable Scoop, with weekly shows delivered right to you. With Helena and Glenn the Geek, live from the stable, it's every week. They bring you the news through hail or high water, while using their tails as their own fly swatters. So sit on down and laugh till you poop, cause it's time again for the Stable Scoop. Stable Scoop. The Stable Scoop. Stable Scoop.
This is Glenn the Geek, and you're listening to the Stable Scoop Radio Show on the Horse Radio Network. We have a special replay episode for you this week as Jennifer and I are on our way to the Rolex Kentucky 3-day event to provide live coverage up there. If you want to hear our coverage of the event with a lot of terrific guests and a lot of fun, we will be coming to you live on Horses in the Morning Show, 9 a.m. on Friday morning this week, and then also Sunday morning, an unusual Sunday episode at 9 a.m. as well. Jamie, Jennifer, and I will be together for that episode. The whole gang will be there, as well as baby Luke, Jamie's son, who will be there as well. I think he's like 8 or 9 months old now. His first Rolex experience. We're looking forward to having a ton of guests, and if you are attending Rolex at the end of this week, please do meet us for a listener meetup half an hour before the start of cross country at jump number 1. We'll have 5 hosts of the Horse Radio Network there: Reese Koffler-Stanfield of the Dressage Radio Show, Samantha of the Eventing Radio Show, Jamie and I of the Horses in the Morning Show, and Coach Jen of the Horse Tip Daily Show. We'll all be there to greet you, as well as some of our regular guests that are going to be there as well. So we hope that you do join us on Saturday morning at half an hour before the start of cross-country jump number 1. We can spend a few minutes together and then all head out to enjoy the day at the Kentucky Horse Park. Coming up on the show today, I'd like to replay an episode that we did back on February 24th, 2012, over 2 years ago. It's an episode we did with Mike Blowen, president and founder of Old Friends Retirement Facility in Georgetown, Kentucky, and the good work that he does there. And I know you might have seen reports on him and things, but Helena and I had a great time speaking with him, so I think you'll enjoy this replay. And before we get to that, I wanted to thank our official HRN auditors, all of you who signed up to become auditors here at the Horse Radio Network and help support the programming that we do here. We have had a bunch of you and some new ones signing up in the last couple of weeks. We appreciate that. We sent out the first auditor review products. The auditors, one of the advantages that they're going to have is they're going to get to review products for us and come on the air and tell us all about them. And we had a couple of books that needed reviewed, and we had some auditors volunteer. The books are being sent out, and you'll be hearing the reviews on them coming up in the coming weeks on our shows here at the Horse Radio Network. If you would like to have the opportunity to review products that we get in, then you can also become an auditor for as little as $1 a month. Just go to stablescoop.com, follow the banner in the middle of the page. You'll see the big banner right there in the middle of the page, and for as little as $1 a month, you too can enjoy all the benefits of being an HRN official auditor. Now let's get on with the show. This is Stable Scoop episode number 184 from February 24th, 2012. Hope you enjoy, and we'll be back here again next week. This is Glenn the Geek.
And this is Helena B. And you're listening to the Stable Scoop Radio Show on the Horse Radio Network.
Well, howdy, Helena.
Hi, Glenn.
Well, you have Mike Blowen scheduled. He's from Old Friends. It's a retirement home for pensioned thoroughbreds. I love that term, pensioned thoroughbreds.
Yeah, it sounds very ooh la la.
Yeah, it does. And it's a beautiful farm. As we said, it's only about 5 miles from where Jennifer and I live, and we've been over there and had the tour and got to meet a bunch of the horses. So let's talk to him about how it came to be and what he's up to now.
Welcome, Mike, to the Stable Scoop Radio Show. I'm really excited to learn about Old Friends. I don't know much about your organization. I'm stuck here on the East Coast in that crappy New England weather, but Glenn has been out to visit you. Tell us a little bit about Old Friends and what you guys do there.
Well, I remember all that New England weather because I spent most of my life in Boston, and how I ended up in Kentucky is the same way I think Alice fell down the rabbit hole. You never know where you're going to end up. We came down to Kentucky in 2001, Diane White, my wife, and I, and in 2003 we started Old Friends with one horse, a wonderful old mare named Narrow Escape, who's got the perfect name for the start of a group like this, and she was left at Fasig-Tipton when she didn't get a bid, and we got a call from Fasig-Tipton asking us if we could take her, so we took her. So that was in 2003. Now here we are in 2012. We take care of 116 retired thoroughbreds.
Wow.
They earned nearly $90 million on the track. We have more stakes winners here than any farm in the history of horse racing. We have horses that we had made 52 starts in the Breeders' Cup. It's just amazing. So to me, it's like going from someone who never believed when I was younger that racehorses were athletes to realizing that they're actually superior to the human counterparts. But this is like having Larry Bird and Michael Jordan in your yard. It's just unbelievable. We're so fortunate here.
That's the best way I've ever heard it put. Larry Bird and
they're
Michael
just
Jordan.
Unbelievable.
No kidding. Well, I'm reading through some of these names, and it's like, wow. I don't care if they're, in their 20s and just hanging around eating grass. Just to watch them and know what they've accomplished is, that's your sunrise every morning, huh?
Well, yes, it is. It's just unbelievable. I mean, I look out and Fortunate Prospect is 31, and they still run around. I watch Gulch run against Afternoon Delights every day. They select their own post time. They don't need a rider or a saddle. Nobody bets on them, although that's an idea to raise money. That'd be kind of cool, wouldn't it?
Yeah, that would actually.
Be cool. Senior races.
We have the pensioned racehorse race, and it's like a quarter mile long. And
exactly.
Yeah.
and it could be like the senior golf tour.
Exactly.
A little slower, a little fatter, but they still, it's still nice to see that Sam Snead could still swing a club in his dotage, and they can too. They still run and they exercise themselves, and they're very, most of the really good ones that we have here are just really, really tough and very, very intelligent.
How are they as keepers? A lot of people who get their thoroughbreds off the track, and thoroughbreds are notoriously difficult keepers, but in their retirement homes, do they mellow out a little bit?
I think that's a myth. We get horses here with reputations. The first great horse we ever had donated to us was Ruhlman, the Grade 1 winner that Jerry and Ann Moss had, and we got him just before Giacomo's Derby. 2005, I guess. And he came with a terrible reputation that, he almost killed a couple of guys. He might have killed one guy. They're not sure. They never found him again. But what happened in one incident, so Peggy Whittingham was telling me that he was the only horse that Charlie was afraid of. And he was very, very tough. And it took two people to get him to the track. He's a racehorse, and he didn't suffer fools gladly. And he won a lot of really, really really nice races. He would have been Horse of the Year, I think, the year that Criminal Type won, but he got injured. He actually beat Criminal Type twice that year. He's an amazing horse. But anyway, he apparently he was very difficult around the track, and one day one of the grooms got mad and thought, well, I'll teach him a lesson. So he brought him into the barn, and he whacked him around a little. And for 2 weeks, I guess, Ruhlman was like a puppy dog. But one day, when nobody else was around, he turned into the stall, and he attacked the guy and tore his stomach out. So Jay Hovde never would believe this, but after Ruhlman was here for about 10 months, we give a lot of tours. He settled down. We didn't put the shank over his nose. We just let him with a little lead rope. And I think after a while, he lost that fear aspect, and he wasn't a terror anymore. And I got him to the point where I didn't do it. Everybody did it together, but I could go out into the paddock and feed him a couple of carrots, and he would roll over and let me scratch his stomach.
Oh, wow.
And it happens to all these horses. We had, I talked to the people that trained Ball 4, for example, and Julien Le Peroux, and they all talked to me, told me what a bully he was and everything. Well, when we put him out with a few of our geldings, he's now last on the totem pole. They just said, hey, listen, that stuff doesn't work with us, and you're last on the totem pole now, buddy. So Bonaparte and some of the other, and Kudos, if you remember Kudos, that Mandela had Kudos as the leader of that paddock, and he wasn't going to take any nonsense from this newcomer. So,
So
it's very interesting to see thoroughbreds become horses again, not just race horses.
Well, that's the big question. Yeah. I mean, they go, there's so much that can be bred into them. There's so much hotness and aggression that can be bred into them. But then you have to kind of wonder, well, when you change their environment so drastically, you have to expect that their personalities are going to change as well. And, that's the other nice thing I think you get to see is that these guys, and these are the top of the top, not that they're all great. All racing thoroughbreds are amazing, but these are, like you said, the Michael Jordans of their sport. And so they're even more, they're even bred more tightly to be fast and hot and thoroughbred.
And very smart and very tough. And that's the interesting. I mean, we do have horses here that didn't earn anything. We have, when I back in Boston, I used to review movies for the Boston Globe, and the great movie director, John Huston, told me once, you don't have a movie unless you have a star. And I thought, well, we got the stars, but we need the supporting cast, too. So we have some horses here that literally didn't earn a dime, or we have a horse here named Swan's Way, who's right next door to Afternoon Delights and right across from Patton and Marquetry. And the poor guy raced until he was 15 years old, and he only earned $63,000. So.
But he raced until he was 15. That's what
he certainly earned his retirement.
Yeah. And you don't ride them, any of them either. These are truly in retirement at your place.
Yes. Now, we have some exceptions. If we get a really, really young horse off the track that just needs a year off to rehab and to take care of any injuries and everything, if they're 6 or 7 years old, it's kind of early to get them totally retired. So Janet Beiersdorfer, who runs that part of our operation, evaluates them along with our veterinarian, Dr. Byers, and if they're fit enough and interested enough, then we do some retraining. But we don't adopt them out. We always keep ownership of the horse, and people can come and take them to horse shows and work with them here and do some things, but we keep an eye on all of them. So
it's sort of like a
worked out well so far. Yeah, we have, do you remember Smokey Stover?
No.
Smokey Stover ran in the Breeders' Cup in New Jersey when it was at Monmouth Park. He's a beautiful big black horse and a millionaire. Greg Gilchrist had him out in California. And he won Grade 1 races and everything. And now he's one of the great dressage horses you'll ever see.
Aww.
And your horses don't only come from the United States either. They come from all over the world.
Yeah, they do. They do, Glenn. After what happened to Ferdinand over in Japan, we got a hold of Emmanuel Disaru, who was one of the guys that markets these horses overseas, and he arranged for us to create this kind of viaduct between us and Japan as far as the horses are concerned. So they call us and let us know when horses are being ready to end their breeding career over there, and then we raise the money and bring them back. We've brought home 5 so far. A horse named Creator, who was once owned by Sheikh Mohammed. He came home with Sunshine Forever, who won the Eclipse Award as turf champion in 1988. And then we brought Phrase, Madeline Paulson's horse, who won the Breeders' Cup Turf, back with Ogaijin, one of the greatest horses ever, in the second load. And then the latest one we brought home with the help of Cott Campbell and everybody at Dogwood Stable and his friends. We brought home a great son of Gulch, Walenda. And we have Gulch at the Farm and Walenda. And we have Afternoon Delights and his son Popcorn Delights, who plays Seabiscuit in the movie. I tell people when they come on the tours that, with the economy in the state it's in, a lot of these youngsters are moving back in with their parents. So I think it's the only farm in the world where we have 5 pairs of fathers and sons.
What do you have? What else do you? There's the facility in Kentucky, but you also have something in New York as well. Is Old Friends expanding?
Yes, we have a wonderful farm in New York. It's run by Mark and Joanne Pepper. It's right outside Saratoga in Greenfield Center. We have some wonderful New York champions up there, well, international champions in some cases. Will's Way won the Travers and the Whitney. Crusader Swords up there, retired. Thunder Rumble, another Travers winner's up there. We also have one of my favorite horses of all time, Zippy Chippy, who's 0 for 100.
Oh, geez.
He's banned from every racetrack in the country, including the Great Barrington Fair. So
because
he's so futile.
Yeah.
Because he was considered a danger to the wagering public. It's so terrible. He'd always, towards the end of his career, after People magazine named him one of the 50 most interesting personalities of the year, people used to come and bet on him and then keep the ticket. So he'd always go off at like 3 to 5 or 4 to 5 to finish up the track.
Well, I want to.
He's a wonderful horse, and his motto is, "Winners don't always finish first." So he's come to terms with his futility.
All right, I have an idea for you. I'm clicking through your website as we're having this conversation here. I have an idea for you on how to raise money because you need more.
Oh, that's
more
fabulous.
Ideas. Okay, you ready? This is it. Shh,
yes.
Nobody else listen. Everybody else, don't take this idea. I think you can take even the old guys and go all the way to you can pimp out your horses as models.
That's a great idea.
Isn't that a great idea for
yes.
horse magazines, for fashion designers? They can come to the farm, use the farm for their photo shoots, gloss up your horses. Voila, sitting fee.
I love it.
Just saying.
That's a great idea. We just got our first Breyer horse.
Oh, did you?
We have a marvelous horse here named Bull in the Heather. It was Ferdinand's greatest offspring. He won the 1993 Florida Derby.
He's a gray, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Phil Johnson had him. I'm sorry, Howie Tesher had him. And I told Howie if he'd had a better trainer, he would have won more races, but that's all right. He got his own Breyer horse this week, so it's really neat, and they're donating part of the proceeds to Old Friends.
Oh, well, that's great. Well,
yeah.
Speaking of proceeds, we need to take a quick break here for a commercial, and we're going to be back. I want to find out how a movie guy up there doing movie reviews in Boston, working for the paper up there, doing the beat, ended up, loving and liking racing so much enough to end up with 100 horses of your own. We're going to find that out in just a minute. Howdy, everybody. Glenn the Geek back with you. I am with Debbie from Equestrian Collections with the Equestrian Collections Product of the Week, and we're going breeches this week.
This week, I wanted to talk about the Tough Rider Ladies Rib Knee Patch Breeches. And the reason I picked these out is because I think these are some of the best middle-of-the-line breeches. They're great. You can show in them if you want. You can also, they're great for trail riding. These breeches are fabulous all-around breeches. They're our biggest seller. They're the most comfortable breech I've ever worn. And the fun thing about these is they come in a gazillion colors for fun, especially this in the spring. You might want to wear purple. They have those. There's all kinds of colors. The sizes are very comfortable. They are stretchy without being tight, and they come in knee patch, and they come in low rise and regular rise, and they also come in full seat.
Well, I think you're right. These make a great medium level breech at under $50. And I want to read a little review that Tricia wrote on your website. She said these breeches are very good quality, fit well, and have a high level of comfort. The material is soft, and the ribbing makes these appear much more expensive than they are. That's a great review.
Yes, we're always happy to hear from our customers.
I wanted to say that, too. On your website, on Equestrian Collections, you can read all the reviews. It's one of the cool things about shopping over there. And you can find these Tough Riders Ladies Rib Knee Patch Riding Breeches at equestriancollections.com. Just search for Tough Rider Ladies Breeches, and you'll find them on there, along with the entire Tough Rider line of breeches, which they have some terrific products in addition to these. Check them out at equestriancollections.com. And we're back, and we're speaking to Mike, who is the president and founder of Old Friends in Kentucky here, not too far from where I live. And you have a horse there that a lot of people in the audience have met, and they haven't met him at Old Friends. They met him at the Kentucky Horse Park because he was in the breeds barn for a lot of years that I remember, and that's a firm success. I cannot believe that horse is still alive, first of all.
Oh, he's doing great. We have, Richard Schosberg had him, Richard Migliore rode him, and they came to the farm a while back, and it's going to be, and it was a day that Richard was at Keeneland riding, and he had one of the worst days of his career. I think he was on all four of the horses, the three of the four horses he rode were favorites. The fourth one was the second choice, and two of the three favorites were going off at less than even money. And I think he only finished in the money on one horse, or maybe he finished fourth on one of them. So he was coming out of the track, and I said, Richard, you don't know me. I said, my name's Michael Blown, but I have two of your favorite horses at my farm. He says, who do you have? And I said, Affirm Success and Hidden Lake. And he absolutely freaked out. And he said, oh, I'd love to see him. So we hopped in his car, and off he came. And he didn't leave until you couldn't see your hand in front of your face. And it was because of Affirm Success and because of Hidden Lake.
And then who he's talking
I love
about,
that horse.
Helena,
He's a fabulous horse.
Is the Mig Miglieri. His nickname was the Mig, and he is he's actually a regular guest on our morning show on Horses in the Morning.
He really, there's only a handful of the jockeys that really care about what happens to these horses, and he's right at the top of the list.
The Mig's very proud. He has a new, he talks about it every time he comes on the show. He has a new horse of his own. He got himself a trail horse. So he's riding the trails.
He's not riding it, is he? Uh-oh.
Oh, yeah, he is.
He better not fall off him. He's got some bad things going on. He better not fall off that horse, I'll tell you that much.
Oh.
He can't keep away from him. I know it's like a disease.
I think it's like a walking horse, though, Mike, so I think he's safe.
Okay, good. I hope so.
Just bubble wrap him up.
He makes me nervous.
Just bubble wrap him
up.
So
you said you were a movie guy. Which paper up there were you working for?
The Boston Globe. Uh-huh.
And you did movies the whole time, or were you on the beat part of the time, too?
No, I did. I covered movies for most of the time there, and the greatest job I ever had actually was covering stand-up comedy, because all you had to do was drink and laugh. It was fabulous.
That's a job for you, Glenn.
I know. I like that job. You actually have to then write about it. The problem is remembering what you saw the night before.
Yeah, they didn't give you enough space to really make too many mistakes.
But see, these days they just give you an assistant.
Yeah.
Oh, they do?
No, I think that nowadays they hardly have anybody working there, probably from the time you were there, right? I mean,
yeah, it was a great time to be there. We had that's where I met my wife, Diane White. She was a columnist there, and the sport. Bob Ryan was covering the NBA, and Peter Gammons was covering the Red Sox, and Willie McDonough was covering the Patriots, and Bud Collins was covering tennis. I mean, it was fabulous. I mean,
wow, those were the days. Those are big days.
Yeah, that was really something, I have to say.
That was when it was cool to be from Boston. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a great time. I don't regret a minute of it. It was really, really fun.
Well, now, were you a horse racing fan back then?
Well, there was a connection. No. I had an editor at the Globe, Robert Taylor, who died recently. He's a great, great editor. And when I first started these reviews, I'd come from an academic background. I was teaching filmmaking at Emerson College and at Boston University. And so when I went into the newspaper thing, I was very patronizing to some of the films, and I thought I was smarter than everybody. I was young, and I taught college,
Yeah.
Terrible combination.
Yeah. You knew it, yeah.
And you were from Boston.
Yeah, really. It was terrible. It was a deadly trifecta. But Mr. Taylor, I wrote a review of a movie called Hot Lead and Cold Feet, which is a mediocre movie with Don Knotts and Tim Conway, that crew, a really cheesy Walt Disney movie. And I wrote this review, and I kissed it off. And Bob Taylor was arts editor, and he called me, and he goes, Michael, do you have a second? I said, yeah. And he went over that review in about 5 minutes, and he made a mediocre review of a mediocre movie. He made it sing. And I said, holy mackerel, this is like watching somebody do one of those Rubik's Cubes in like 10 seconds. And I said, I've got to hang around with this guy. Well, a couple of weeks later, he called me and said he and a bunch of his friends were going to go to the racetrack, and I'd never been to the racetrack. I ended up going to Suffolk Downs and having a ball. I liked the people. I liked the horses. I liked the betting. I liked the fun. I mean, I really, really liked it. I really liked the challenge of handicapping. Well, years and years went by, and as things would happen, I decided that the one thing I was missing was I didn't know anything about horses. And so I found an old trainer that I had written a story about for Spur magazine many years ago. His name was Carlos Figueroa. He was known as the king of the fairs. And I went to work for Carlos for a couple of years, and as a groom and as a hot walker and as anything else. And I just fell in love with the animals. I mean,
that's a quick way to learn.
Was such a thrill. Mm-hmm.
That's a quick way.
And it was good learning from the bottom up and not getting paid and all that kind of stuff, because there was nothing interfering with it. You knew right away whether this is going to attract you or not. And then, unfortunately, you see what happens to these horses, these old geldings in particular. They couldn't race anymore, and they were just sent off to the killers, and that was the end of it. And bring in some new ones, and run them into the ground, and bring in some new ones, and that was kind of like the deal. So I thought if I ever had the opportunity to, do something about it, I'd take a shot at it. And as luck would have it, years later, I'd retired from the Globe, and I was a big supporter of the Thoroughbred Retirement Foundation, and I had some movie memorabilia, and I brought it to them for their auction. And in the middle of that transaction, they asked me if I wanted to work as their operations director. So when I first came to Kentucky in 2001, I worked for a year and a half as the operations director for the Thoroughbred Retirement Foundation. I learned a lot from that experience, too.
Wow.
And that's kind of like now, we got, as I say, started with one horse. Now we got 116 and a waiting list of more than 70, and we're trying to balance the ones that really need the home from people that don't have the money to take care of them anymore with the stars, because the ones that really deserve the retirement, you know, they don't necessarily make the news, and they're not the stars, but you need the stars to make the news to draw attention to everybody else. So we try to balance it out. We just got that wonderful horse, Arson Squad, from Samantha Siegel. Arson Squad was one of those horses that broke down at Gulfstream Park a month and a half ago or 2 months ago. I think 3 of them broke down during workouts. Anyway, she's amazing. Here's this older gelding, 8 or 9 years old. He won the Swap Stakes. He beat Brother Derek. I mean, he beat a lot of nice horses. And she paid a lot of money to have his surgery done. It was done over here at Root and Riddle by Dr. Bramlage, and then she wanted to retire him to old friends. So he's here doing his post-op work. He'll be off the tour for another few weeks, but I hope when the spring comes, by the time the Derby comes, he'll be greeting all of his fans.
Well,
and he's been adopted by the Lexington Fire Department.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Arson Squad.
Great.
Yeah, it works out good.
Works out good.
works out very well.
I wouldn't mind being adopted by the local Arson Squad either.
Yeah, they're very nice.
For other reasons.
Yeah. Hey.
Oh, my goodness.
You have something coming up tomorrow night, too. It's a big fundraiser for you guys, don't you?
Yes, tomorrow night at the Seelbach Hotel. This is one of the really great events. It's a lot of fun, and I can say it's great because I really have very little to do with it. Between the Seelbach and the distillers and all of our volunteers put this thing together. It's called Old Friends Along the Bourbon Trail, and the Kentucky distillers that run the Bourbon Trail come with all their newest bourbons, and they lay them all out there, and everybody can sample their wares. Fortunately, the hotel kicks in half-price rooms, so nobody has to drive under the influence after the party's over. And we have a really nice dinner, and then we have a silent auction and a live auction of all kinds of great racing memorabilia and vacations and all kinds of other things, so we can raise the money. So it's really a lot of fun. And if anybody's around, I think there's a few tickets left, and they can call the Seelbach Hotel if they decide at the last minute they'd like to attend.
That's the Seelbach Hilton Hotel, and that's in Louisville, Kentucky, right off the Bourbon Trail. The one thing I found about trying to do the Bourbon Trail the one day and going to these tastings is after about 3 tastes of bourbon, they all start to taste the same. I don't know if that's just me or...
No, I think you're right. Yes.
And at these tastings, Helena, they always have you taste the lesser bourbon first, and then you go to the medium bourbon, and then you go to the high-end bourbon. And I'm going, by the time I get to the high end, it just tastes the same. It's like, give me the good stuff first. And then let's go to the lesser stuff. That's the way they do it in bars. That's that's
what we should do. I'm going to advise them that.
I'm a lightweight, give me the good stuff first.
Yes, you are. You can't even handle sugar.
We're very, very fortunate. We have the other thing is we have right before the Derby, on the Thursday before the Derby, we have Ferdinand's Ball in Louisville, and it's the only fundraiser there that's totally dedicated to the horses. Last year, DeMarcus Cousins, a Kentucky star who now plays for the Sacramento Kings, came, and a woman named Katie Upton came, and she was very, very nice. She loved the horses and everything. Very young lady. And I was watching the Today Show on Monday, and there she was on the Today Show. I said to my wife Diana, I said, "Look, there's Katie Upton on the Today Show, and she's the cover girl for the Sports Illustrated swimsuit issue."
See, and I talked about that last week, and Helena made fun of me.
You had to bring it up,
there you
Mike.
go.
You had to bring it up.
I'm sorry.
This is going to be like 4 or 5 episodes now. We're going to have to be hearing about this.
Well, I got to tell you, it's the only way we can get the jockeys to come to our parties.
That's fine. That's fine.
I'm gonna put her on. I'm gonna put her on mute here for a second, Mike. Is she as hot in person as she was in the cover?
I'm too old for that. I mean, that's another thing I have in common with these horses. I had to figure out what I was going to do when my racing and breeding career was over too. I'm too old for this kind of talk. I'll have a heart attack.
Oh boy!
I'm telling you, it's terrible, isn't it?
This is oldfriendsequine.org, and people, if they want to donate, they can do it there as well, right?
Yes, that would be absolutely great. And we really, the most important thing is for people to come visit these horses. We like, the weather's starting to switch here now. It's starting to get a little nicer, and we'd love to show people the horses. And we give tours every day at 10, 1, and 3. Every day but Sunday. At Sunday we do the tour at 11 o'clock. So we'd love to have people come and visit and share their stories of these guys. And we show them some of the races that they had, so they're not just looking at a bunch of horses in the field. They're really getting to see them run in their youth on the video, and then see them in person. It's kind of a thrill.
Well, I think I'm very happy that you joined us today. I'm going to go out to Facebook and tell all my friends to go look up your website and see what's going on, get to know some of the horses that you have, and then to support you. There's, about 6 or 7 different ways that you have listed on your website that people can help. And like you said, one of those is traveling out there. Whereabouts is Georgetown, Kentucky in relation to, in between like Lexington and Louisville? Where is it?
Yes, it's between Lexington and Louisville, very close to Lexington. We're only about 15 miles from Lexington.
All right. So you know what? If anybody out there listening is planning on going to Rolex this year, stop off and, check out Old Friends. Make it a trip. I mean, Lexington and Kentucky in general is beautiful in the spring. Make sure you stop by and see some of these amazing horses, and look for Mike and, just give him a big fat hug and say thanks, because, these horses, I'm sure they say thank you in their own way.
Most of them do.
That's why I said in their own way.
And on that, Thank you very much, Mike.
Glenn, thank you. Helena, thank you so much. I really appreciate this. Best to everybody at Horse Racing Radio Network.
Okay, thank you very much. Well, that's terrific. Mike is a great guy. And talk about, giving your heart over to something that you sort of committed to earlier in your life. He did it.
Well, I just like the fact that he's not out there like, these horses are abused and it's awful and blah, blah, blah. He's just, said, okay, let's get some land, get these horses in here, make connections and do something. I really like that. He's looking forward instead of whining about.
He had 100-some horses.
That's a lot of horses. That's a lot. I would love to see Old Friends, quote unquote, franchise. So they've got Kentucky, they've got New York. I'd like to see that, this way more land and more horses can be retired, pensioned.
He had run out of land here, I know, and was utilizing other farms. But, he just has a good heart. You can tell how he loves these horses. And he loves, what else he loves is the backstory to the horses. He really likes their backstory. There is a respect there. Yeah. There's a respect that even I think I'm going to get flamed for this, but some rescue organizations that they don't have. Some people just want to stop abuse or neglect. He has such a deep respect for the athlete. And he doesn't hate racing. He likes racing. Yeah. And it's, and it shows. I think it just shows in when you come from that place where he's coming from, you are, you can target your efforts to be effective. And I totally understand. I get flamed every time, we adopt greyhounds. We have our second adopted greyhound now. And I get flamed every time when I'm at a greyhound function when people talk about getting rid of greyhound racing, and I'm going, I don't want them to get rid of greyhounds. I like greyhound racing. If it's done by respectable, reputable trainers, just like in horse racing, if they treat their animals right, these animals, when I bring my greyhound to the dog park and she runs with other dogs, she is never, ever, ever happier than when she's running at 35 miles an hour at a dead run. Yeah. She comes back, and you saw the pictures I posted on Facebook there of her running that my friend took with those amazing shots she got in the first place of a dog going 35 miles an hour. But that look on her face, that was pure happiness and pure joy. Yeah. So, I do believe that the greyhounds especially, they love to run. They love racing. Now, we have to make sure they're not mistreated in between the races. That's the part. That's the problem, yes. Horses, too, they love racing. You know me. I don't mind racing. I just wish they wouldn't race babies. Yeah. And,
do all those surgeries and stuff to fix them when they're foals.
Yeah, there's lots of things like that. But let's fix those problems. Let's not get rid of it altogether, because I do think that, especially these greyhounds. Plus, I wouldn't own a greyhound because they wouldn't breed these greyhounds. These greyhounds that are bred for racing are different than the greyhounds that are bred for you to have in your house.
Yeah.
Or for showing. They're different dogs. And we just fell in love with the racing greyhounds. They're so much fun, yet they're so calm 90% of the time. Anyway, now I'm off on my soapbox now. But I get flamed for the same reason, because I come out and say that. But anyway, let's take a break.
It's Old Friends Equine, and that was Mike Blowen. And we're going to take a break.
We're going to take a break for Kentucky Performance Products, and then we're going to come back and hear about our experience with the illuminated hoof pick. Not every horse needs a supplement, and selecting the right supplement for your horse can be a science. Kentucky Performance Products simplifies your search for the right supplement, and they provide products that are scientifically developed to address the specific problems facing modern horses. Their website and customer service people can give you detailed information on each supplement, helping you find the right solution to your horse's problem. You can trust Kentucky Performance Products supplements to provide the ingredients you need in effective amounts so your horse gets the most out of each scoopful. Kentucky Performance Products, helping you keep your horses healthy, sound, and competitive. Visit them at kppusa.com. That's kppusa.com. Well, this is sounding like an old Tack and Habit show today, Helena. We're talking about products. We're not going to do a Tack and Habit segment today because we talked so long about about your pitchfork you love. That really was a Tack and Habit segment. But you did one with Jennifer about 2 weeks ago, the illuminated hoof pick, which we had found at the Ada show we went to. And all it is it has an LED light on the end of the hoof pick so that when you're picking the horse's hoof, you can see it in it, because you can never see in the darn hoof because the light's always in the wrong place in a barn. Well, we had a horse that we're taking care of, thoroughbred, retired thoroughbred actually, come up completely lame on Sunday. When we were out doing the barn, this horse was about three-legged lame and had a very fat ankle. And we were thinking, oh, no, tendon, something permanent. It's going to take 6 months to heal. And Jennifer did the whole hose thing, and she put the liniments on, and she wrapped it and everything. Next morning, she goes out, and she says, I'm cleaning this horse's hoof. The ankle went down a little bit, but not much. I'm cleaning the horse's hoof, and I'm really digging in because we have had so much mud here that their hooves have been just packed every day. She said, I finally got really deep into the frog. I noticed that I could go deeper than usual, and she said, with my illuminated hoof pick, I was actually able to see into the frog of the foot and see a tiny glisten. And she said, I dug and dug and dug in there, and she found a perfectly round stone about the size of a pea. And she would have never seen it or even found it other than the illuminated hoof pick.
Wow.
So she dug this thing out of there because she just could see the very top of it. And when she popped it out, a pile of pus came flying out of the foot. And the next day, she goes out, and there's a second hole that's opened up at the back of the foot. This was a channel. So we got this abscess out, and all the swelling went down the leg. Horse is fine. A day later.
Holy cow.
Yep, and it was thanks to the illuminated hoof pick to actually get light under there to be able to see in. And so this is a product we reviewed a couple days ago. I'm just doing a follow-up. The thing, it has a value, and it works.
And I need to go get one. Fine. And I have to say, though, your wife has had tremendous success looking to the hoof for many, many lameness issues. I mean,
That's
and I don't
true.
mean that a lot of people go, oh, well, obviously, but there have been quite a few occasions where there's been this mystery lameness and swelling, and it really, all it took was just a little extra digging around in the hoof. And I love that she does that. But I mean, she does it because experience tells her,
Right.
dig a little deeper.
And yet you would have never guessed it by this horse's fat ankle, that we were going to be dealing with a hoof issue.
Yeah.
We were thinking tendon or something like that.
Wow. Well, yeah.
And now you've had Martin, who you just talked about, who played with the pitchfork one day. And aren't quarter horses fun, by the way?
Oh my goodness. I am in love with this fellow. He's awesome. He's everything that I need in a horse right now. He's everything that I need. just, and there's so much that he's just coming 6 years old. He's 15 3 hands. He's a dark bay with 4 white socks. I really couldn't care less what he looks like, but he's as fancy as he is sweet. He's dead quiet under saddle. Dead quiet. Poor Greasy can't even get him to go forward. She gets on him and he just does a turn on the forehand. It's really cute. She's like, Mommy, look, I can do a turn on the forehand. But he's just, I let him out to the back field today by himself. Just, first time he's been away from Zeke, and let him out to the back field. He can't see anybody. And he just walked along quietly. I turned him out. He doesn't, kick or run or buck or anything when you unhook the lead rope. He stands quietly. He'll go and graze some grass. He self-exercises. He'll just sort of get the wind up his skirts, and then he'll run around, but he doesn't run around so crazy that he falls.
Right.
He's good for the farrier, and just really an all around and a comfortable ride. I cantered for the first time on him on Monday. And I had cantered other horses since my leg injury, but this was the first time I had cantered this new guy with my weak leg in my own field, my own house. And I was practically in tears because he's such a smooth ride. If Pi is a Ferrari, Martin is
station wagon, minivan.
He's an Escalade.
Oh, okay.
He's a luxury SUV.
I thought you were going to say a minivan.
No, he's a totally tricked out SUV. Yeah, that's Martin. That's exactly what it is. But today I was just thinking, you know what? I am now a backyard horse owner. That's it. I'm a mom. I have kids. I have pets. I have stuff going on. What do you need in a back? I don't need the competitive jumper or fox hunter. I need a good, solid, all-around horse who you can turn out by himself.
Which is why we ended up with Beaker, because Jennifer was done with the years of showing and competing and riding and, crazily through the first field of a fox hunt. And it was like she just, same as you now, she just wanted to go out. And when she went out to the barn, she didn't want to spend an hour and a half fussing and no time riding. She wanted to just be able to get on and ride and not have to think about it and have some brain-free time. And that's what you have now.
Yeah. And it's, it's hard to let go of that old competitive person, that athlete in me, and say, oh, well, I've always been an athlete and I have a competitive goal-oriented personality, especially when I'm in the saddle. So to let that part of my life go and embrace a horse who represented this new chapter in my life was a very personal and very significant transition for me. However, the light at the end of that long tunnel is extremely bright, because the joy that you feel in just being able to ride and play with your horse and not have the challenges of constantly training or worrying, or, you don't have to always be on. And I wanted to just say to any listeners out there who really, you're attached to your horse, you love your horse, but you think, well, maybe he's just too much for me, or she's just not trained enough, or whatever. Your challenge might be is it's okay to reassess who you are and what your riding wants are. Not necessarily your riding goals, but what are your wants? And it's okay to find something that fits that, because it's all about happiness. We ride horses to make us happy. So I found that, and I hope you guys will just kind of open your eyes and think about what makes you happy as well.
There you go. Well, very good. Sounds like you fell in love with more than just your pitchfork.
I did. I fall in love with everything. I mean, the tree, a rock, a tree, the cat, whatever, the UPS guy,
Hey, be sure, everybody, to listen again next week as we have another episode of Stable Scoop. We're hoping to have something fun. I can't say what it is yet. We have an announcement to make next week. I have an announcement to make next week. My wife and I have an announcement to make next week. But
drum roll!
We're trying to arrange a guest that will help us make the announcement. So we're going to hopefully do that next week. We'll let you know.
You're not pregnant, are you?
No, I'm not pregnant, and neither is my wife. We're a little too old for that now. I'm turning 50 in April. 50.
Oh, 50's the new 30.
I'm going to be 50.
Fine. 50's the new 30.
I feel like I'm 16 still, so my wife says I act like I'm 16, so I think...
You do.
All right.
Yeah.
And I think everybody knows the end of the show part, Let's skip it today. Let's just say... We'll be back next week. Thank you for a great show, and thank you for lining up such a wonderful guest and for him being here today and taking that time out of his 100 horses.
Yeah, I know. That was pretty nice, Hey, I'm good under pressure.
That's it for this week, Helena.
There will be more next week. Thanks for listening.